Hello class, this is going to be our last video on naming substances. It's going to be in two parts. The first part is naming binary acids, and the second part will be naming molecular substances. Both of them are pretty short. They're only one slide each, so this should be a pretty short video. Now, how do we name binary acids? First of all, what are binary acids? Binary acids are acids that are made of hydrogen and one other element, and that other element should be a non-metal. Okay, how do we name them? This is how. We use hydro plus the root of the non-hydrogen element, which is the non-metal, and then we add ic at the end plus the word acid. Let's take an example to clarify this. HCl would be hydrochloric acid. HF would be hydrofluoric acid, and H2S would be you guessed it, hydrosulfuric. Very good. All right, now oxyacids on the other hand are acids that contain oxygen. So there are two categories of acids. I should have said this earlier: binary and oxyacids. Now for oxyacids, oxyacids are made of a polyoxyanion plus hydrogen or plus hydrogens. So the names of oxyacids are based on the name of the polyoxyanions. Now remember that polyoxyanions have names that end with ATE or ITE. Now if the name of the polyoxyanion ends with ATE, we replace the ATE by, again, ic, and we add the word acid. Let's take an example to clarify this. Now, the acid is actually H2SO4. Now, it is made of hydrogens, two hydrogens, and the polyoxyanion SO4 2-. So we need only to focus on the name of the SO4 2-. Now notice that in this case, in the case of oxyacids, we don't worry about hydro. We don't use hydro in the name of the acid at all. Okay? So we just focus on the name of the polyoxyanion. In this case, it's sulfate. So we replace the ATE by ic. So technically, we should say sulfic acid, but that doesn't sound very good. We call it sulfuric acid. So in this case, we don't use the root. We use the name of the whole element, which is sulfur. Sulfuric acid. Okay? Now, for the other category of polyoxyanions, remember the ones that have lesser number of oxygens, which end in ITE, we replace the ITE by OUS and add the word acid to get the name of the acid. For example, SO3 2- is called sulfite. Therefore, H2SO3 is an acid which is called, can you guess? Yes, sulfurous acid. Okay, so this is how we determine, or this is how we name acids. Okay, and we'll come back to this toward the end of the year when we study acids and bases in detail. Okay, just a reminder that I wanted you to learn the colors of some common ions. Moving on, learning check. Can you name this acid? And can you write the formula of this acid? Can you name this acid? Can you give the formula of this one? Okay, so this is something that you should do right now, and the rest of it we'll do in class. So let's take a look at the rest of it. There you go. This is what it looks like. So we'll be doing this and much more in class. So I will see you then. But before, let's hit the second the second part of this video, which is the last part of this series of videos regarding naming. So without further ado, here we go. Naming molecular compounds. So far we have been talking about ionic substances and acids kind of fall into that category because they are made of ions as well. But now we go into molecular substances. So here we are talking about molecules. So these these substances, when you put them in water, they don't break down into ions. They may dissolve, but they don't break down into ions. How do we know it? How do we name them? Well, here's how. There are a few rules that we need to follow. The first one says we must use a prefix to denote the number of each element. So here we have to indicate the number of atoms of each element present in the compound. For that, we use prefixes that are indicated in this table: mono, di, tri, etc. The ending of the second element, because these are molecular substances, tend to have, the ones that we are interested in will have two different elements. The ending of the second element, which is the more electronegative one always, will be changed into IDE. Now let's take an example to clarify this before we move on to the other rules. N2O5 has two elements in it, nitrogen and oxygen, and notice that oxygen is written second because it is more electronegative. Now we need to name this using IDE for the second element, so we will have to say oxide. But we also have to apply the first rule, which says that we must use the prefixes to indicate the number of each the number of atoms of each element. So we would have to say di-nitrogen pentaoxide, but we'll just say pentoxide instead of pentaoxide. So dinitrogen pentoxide. H2O, dihydrogen monoxide. Very good. If you need to repeat this, rewind the video and listen to it as many times as you need in order to understand this before moving on to the next rule. Okay. Now, the next rule, which is, I'm not sure it's a rule actually, it's just a remark. Mono is not used for the first element. Okay. So here we wouldn't say monosulfur trioxide. We should just say sulfur trioxide. In this case, can you name this? It has 1 carbon and 4 chlorine atoms. Do you think you can name it? It should be called carbon tetrachloride. And this is pretty much it for naming molecular substances. Learning check. Let's do this one, this one, this one, and this one right now, and the rest we will do in class. Let's take a look at the ones we'll be doing in class. Ta-da! These are the ones we'll be doing in class. Now, if you wanted to do them right now, if you can't wait because it's just too much fun, go for it. You can access it from Al-Khazna, where you have the whole PowerPoint. Okay, this is the end of this video. Thank you, and see you in class.